All right, let's just dive right into this explainer and unravel a fascinating centuries-old mystery. We are going to look at the Nazca Lines and how modern technology is quite literally rewriting ancient history. I'm incredibly excited to guide you through this, mostly because this topic is just the perfect blend of ancient human ingenuity and cutting-edge artificial intelligence. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll briefly touch on the desert's giant canvas, how the lines were created, early detectives and theories, water, rituals, and aliens, how AI is uncovering hidden figures, and finally, protecting a fragile legacy. So part 1, the desert's giant canvas. Created between 500 BC and 500 AD by the Paracas and Nazca cultures, the sheer scale of these earthworks is, well, it's absolutely staggering. We're talking about a combined length of over 1,300 kilometers. That is roughly 800 miles of continuous lines scraped right into the floor of this high, arid plateau in southern Peru. They cover an area of about 50 square kilometers, and some of the single figures stretch over 1,200 feet long. To put that into perspective, this was definitely not some casual weekend project. We're looking at a massive, generation-spanning, complex endeavor. Moving on to part 2, creating the Nazca Lines. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth did ancient people create such vast, incredibly precise art using completely analog tools? Especially when you consider that these shapes are really best seen from like 500 meters up in the air. It's a question that completely baffled researchers for decades. The answer is a brilliant showcase of human ingenuity, and it actually relies on a surprisingly simple 3-step process. First, they removed a top layer of reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles. Digging this shallow trench, only about 10 to 15 centimeters deep, exposed the highly contrasting light-colored clay earth right beneath it. But the real magic is in step 3. That sublayer contains a lot of lime. So when the morning mist hits it, the lime hardens and forms this natural protective shield against wind erosion. That simple chemical reaction, combined with a super dry, windless climate, is exactly why these lines are still here 2 millennia later. All right, part 3, early detectives and theories. Our understanding of this desert canvas has really evolved over time. Back in 1553, Spanish conquistadors just mistook them for old trail markers. They were pretty much ignored until 1927, when a Peruvian archaeologist named Toribio Mejia Gespes spotted them while out hiking the foothills. But the real light bulb moment? That came in 1940. American historian Paul Kosak was actually flying over the site to study irrigation, and he suddenly realized the lines formed the giant shape of a bird. Kosak, teaming up with the legendary German mathematician Maria Ricci, totally kickstarted the modern era of Nazca research. And as you'll see, that era leads right up to some mind-blowing AI breakthroughs in 2024. Which brings us to part 4, water, rituals, and aliens. So, why were they built? Well, scholars have pitched a ton of really grounded theories. Early pioneers like Kosak and Ricci thought they were massive astronomical calendars pointing to where the sun rose on solstices. But later on, archaeologists like Johann Reinhard pointed out that water is literally the most precious resource in this desert. He suggested these were sacred paths leading to aquifers to invoke water deities. Other researchers think they were ritual walking paths meant to build social cohesion during pilgrimages. And hey, there's even a fascinating, though admittedly less accepted theory by art historian Henri Stierlin, who suggested they were giant primitive looms used to make super long textiles for mummies. I mean, how wild is that? Of course, we have to talk about the wildly popular alien theories. Back in 1968, writer Erich von Däniken famously claimed these lines were landing strips for ancient astronauts, arguing that humans just couldn't have pulled this off. But investigator Joe Nichols soundly proved the human earthwork theory. Using only the simple surveying tools available to the ancient Nazca people, Nichols' very small team recreated these massive figures in just a matter of days, with absolutely zero aerial help. So it turns out human ingenuity is pretty extraordinary all on its own. Let's jump into the modern era with part 5, AI uncovers hidden figures. Okay, get ready for this number. 303. That is the staggering amount of newly confirmed figurative geoglyphs discovered in 2024 alone. Just to put that into perspective for you, before these recent leaps in tech, we only knew of about 400 figures total, and that took an entire century of searching to find. Here's how they did it. Researchers from Yamagata University teamed up with IBM Research to train deep neural networks. They basically taught the AI to spot faded, relief-type geoglyphs in aerial photos that the human eye would just totally miss. The AI models screened thousands of potential candidates, and then archaeologists spent 1,440 hours physically walking the desert to confirm them. And the stuff they found? Just wild. We're talking parrots, killer whales, cats, monkeys, and even severed heads. The running theory is that these smaller figures were placed near trails to share information about rituals with passing pilgrims. By doing the heavy lifting, AI saved countless years of manual searching and brought these ancient stories back to life. And that brings us to our final chapter, Part 6, Protecting a Fragile Legacy. We have this very urgent warning from Victoria Nikitsky of the Maria Reich Center, and it really grounds us in a terrifying reality. She points out that because these lines are so incredibly superficial, remember they're only 10 to 30 centimeters deep, they rely entirely on the historically dry climate of the region. Shifting global weather patterns and the threat of increasingly heavy, unseasonal rainfall could literally wash away 2 millennia of history in just one massive storm. And on top of the weather, the lines are under constant assault from just human carelessness. In the last dozen years alone, the site has been damaged by squatters letting pigs roam all over the archaeological soil. In 2014, Greenpeace activists actually trampled a geoglyph while setting up a banner for a stunt. We've seen off-road vehicles from the Dakar Rally, and even a lost truck driver leaving massive tire tracks right across the figures. And most recently, in 2025, there was this highly controversial bureaucratic attempt to reduce the protected area by 42%. That sparked massive fears about informal mining destroying the lines before the government finally reversed the decision. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to wrap up this explainer. We are standing at an incredible crossroads right now. We finally possess the ultimate AI technology to uncover and read the full story woven into the Nazca mystery. But with climate change and human negligence knocking at the door, will we protect this magnificent desert canvas long enough to actually understand it? Thanks so much for exploring the Nazca Lines with me today. Keep asking questions and keep learning.